Hey guys, it's the pack leader and man1103 coming at you with another video. Today we are doing NFL logos ranked based on a random person's opinion, that random person being me. Number 32, we have the Indianapolis Colts. It's it's a boring logo, and it's been forced into our faces for the better part of 20 years, with when the team was still respectably good in any way. I mean, when they're healthy, they're alright, but they definitely need a boost, and I think that could definitely come from a logo and or uniform change. I mean, there's a lot of history behind it, and it's been their logo for over 30 years, but I definitely feel like they could have at least made an attempt at a change. I mean, there's been rumors before, but they never actually acted on them, so, I mean, there's not much to it. It's a bland white horseshoe with a blue background usually, or vice versa. I mean, it's there's nothing real. It's not really worth anything, uh, or like it's not worth any historical value because there's hardly any history with the team aside from drafting Peyton Manning. Uh, and there you go. I spelled with wrong. Great. Yeah, like it's fine with the Chiefs and Chargers. Like they actually incorporate more than two colors in the palette, so that's where their historical value sort of is existent as opposed to the Colts. They literally have two colors on the palette, and there's not much to it, which is why I have them as the worst logo in the NFL. These are all based on my opinion. Obviously, there's nothing factual behind it because this isn't something you can put facts down to. But yeah, I have the Colts at 32. 31, we have the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, there's a lot that should go into a football logo, and none of those things go into this logo. It's just a star. Like, any team could slap a alright design onto a star and call it a good logo. I can't because it's not really a good logo. It just seems lazy. I feel like a logo should have a lot more meaning to that than that. And the star doesn't. I mean, yeah, it's the whole like symbolizing like, hey, this team's in Texas and everything. I get that symbolism, but it doesn't really mean much, especially with a team called the Cowboys. Uh it's not really a good or not a successful attempt. It was a good attempt, just not successful. It's gone mostly untouched aside from an outline for over 50 years. The uniforms barely changed. I mean, they've had a couple major ones, but those were a good while ago. And like again, with a team called the Cowboys, there's infinite options for a logo, and they just decide to continue to go with this, but it's almost too late to change it now. I don't like. I think when I think championships in the Cowboys, I think the '90s, and I think of the players. I don't think of the uniform because it didn't symbolize them well. So I just think, okay, uh, friggin', I almost said Quincy Carter. No, he wasn't part. Was he part of those championship teams? I'm not too familiar with the Cowboys, honestly. I'm actually a Steelers fan, so I kind of hate them. But yeah. But really, outside of the '90s, they don't have a ton of history. In fact, they've only won 2 playoff games in my entire lifetime, and the only time and both times they could have doubled that, or both divisional round games against the Packers, in which they choked away for reasons of I don't know. But yeah, that's the only other times I've seen them come close. They're uninspiring, and I don't like the logo, which is why it's at the 31 spot. Number 30, the Cleveland Browns. Disclaimer, I am a fan of the Steelers, so I have pretty much no room to talk about this. But when I hear a lot of Browns fans pulling the card of how the Chargers and Bengals used a similar helmet logo style for a while, but the thing is, they had an actual design on their helmet. Their helmet is literally just the helmet, and there's no logo on it. And I mean, it makes sense because that would be a prime form of Inception. But in all honesty, I mean, I don't mind the color scheme so much as the logo. The logo could use a lot of work. Um, and I mean, there isn't a lot of options for a team called the Browns. Like, I think they could make a letter logo, but they can definitely do better than a football helmet, and I know that for a fact. You know, like aside, like there's if you look really closely at their helmet, there's a barbel, like the not the it's not black, it's like the brown stripe on the two brown stripes on their helmet. They've got a little bit of a barber pole design on it, which I think is a pretty solid touch, but there isn't much to speak of on the logo. And I mean, it's not popular with anyone as a result, you know. And again, there's history behind it. They've, aside from the elf-looking logo they had, that's the only logo they've ever had, I think. Don't hold me to that. I'm not sure, but that's the only other one I can think of is the elf one. So other than that, they've had that logo the entire time. So I really think they could at least pull off a letter logo of some kind. I mean, even so much as a word mark on the helmet like the Bengals had throughout the 70s, and I think that stretched in even to the 90s, or like the Chargers, like, yes, it's hard to explain. They had the helmet logo, but they also had the actual logo on the helmet, which later became their logo. Fun fact there. So that's why I feel like the Browns are safe at number 30. Number 29, New York Jets. So, this is roughly the football equivalent of the New Jersey Devils, and for more reasons than one. They're just a boring team. I mean, they wear just two colors, just like the Colts, and you know where that got the Colts, number 32. Um, like, and don't tell me about any history with Joe Namath or whatever, because he was playing against the aforementioned Colts. If there's one thing I don't think of when I think of a jet, it is definitely the color green. I'm thinking more of a uh, blue, sort of like black, gray colors. You know, those are what I think of when I think Jets. Definitely not green and white. And this is also a team when you flip through the Madden teams, you're seeing a generally low overall in the low, maybe mid 70s somewhere. Um, they could at least add an accent of some kind in a different color. Like, it's really tough to come up with like, it's tough to change the color scheme, but I think they could at least change the logo because it's not good at all. And I think they should maybe try and take some inspiration from their step brothers in Winnipeg, the Winnipeg Jets, because their color scheme and logo actually represents what a team called the Jets should. You know, I feel like Winnipeg executed that much better. Even the old Winnipeg Jets logo executed that better than the New York Jets did, which is why I have the Jets down at 29. It's boring. Number 28, they're blood brothers, the New York Giants. It's literally two letters stylized. That's it. I'll credit with some history though. You have to credit the history. They've had 4 Super Bowls in their pocket, and they've had prime opportunities in the past to have between 5 and even 8 Super Bowls. If you think of it like that, they could have the most Super Bowls in NFL history right now. They if they had been able to capitalize, of course, the logo could go for a change. Although, I mean, I do love the helmet design. It goes well with the helmet. Like, a team called the Giants does have a good amount of different logo design options. Even just so much as a new font stylization would be a solid baseline start. or an alternate logo, a new word mark, something. Because like the Cowboys, it's a logo you usually look at and see 8 and 8 below it. So, uh, like when you do random team or something in Madden, you look over, see something between 70 and 80, and see the logo, and you're like, I don't know. I don't know about using that team. And then you casually scroll to the next logo, usually seeing the Jaguars, and you're like, okay. And then you use the Jags. But all in all, it's not unbearable, but it's not a good logo, and it could go for a change. Number 27, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay, this has been the Steelers logo for over 50 years, and I don't see it ever changing again. They literally copied it off the steel manufacturing logo they used until the steel industry moved westward into like the Midwest and even as far out as like California and stuff. Again, though, as a Steeler fan, I understand thoroughly, very thoroughly, in fact, that there is a metric ton and a half of history behind this logo. Just hearing tales of this head case of a football team through a family who remembers the Steel Curtain era and all that. The guys who used steroids and won 4 Super Bowl. The guy. Yeah, you know what I mean. But there is a red, blue, and yellow asterisk right beside this team, though. I hate this logo. The reason being is the fact that, there's gotta be some alternative to this logo because, yes, it's a great nod to the city's history and how it even came to be a city. The problem with it is that it literally copied it. It added 3 things to it: an E, an R, and an S at the end of steel. That's all they did. I feel like they could have definitely executed a new logo at some point. Same with the uniforms. The uniforms are alright, but I feel like they could get better. I feel like there's definitely room for improvement. Number 26, the Chicago Bears. Okay, this logo, though the logo and color scheme, not to mention, is horrible, it is impressive. This is part of a very small group of logos in professional sports to withstand the test of time over 90 years. And this is no small task. You're talking, these are teams up in the ranks of the Canadiens in, like, length of existence. And the amount of teams in sports that have moved, that moved because of financial reasons back then, and the fact that they were able to not only stay where they were, but hardly have any troubles at all through that time, is incredible. And if, man, it's not great. Like, but at the same time, for a team called the Bears, there's a lot of options, and it could be a lot higher than this had they actually changed it to a logo that somehow reminded you of a bear in some way at some point. But I do feel like it represents the team well, and there's a lot of history behind it, so I couldn't put it any lower than this, but it was tough to put it any higher. So the future is bright for this team. They've got a lot of young talent all around the roster. And the alternate logo I actually prefer over their actual logo. I don't think they're going to change it, but I wouldn't be surprised. But the reason I don't think they'd change it is just because of the history behind it and how long they've had it. But that is why this logo falls down at 26, just because it's been pretty overused. Number 25, the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay. Do you see black anywhere on the uniform? Well, no, you don't. Unless you look on the helmet and see the black outline on the logo. Oh, man. Okay. Maybe it's my OCD kicking in here. my God, that's oh man. Again, a team called the Chiefs. There is a lot of options for a logo. Now, you don't see black anywhere on the uniform, right? Now, why wouldn't they use yellow? You know, the color that appears everywhere on the uniform except the logo. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking at here. I mean, it's pretty boring, and I mean, they came at like they came to existence in a time in sports where letter logos were up and coming. And I feel like their owner just looked at the Niners and said, letter logos drawn within a boundary. That's totally the future of sports logos. Just don't consult any NHL teams on that one because they might have something else to say to you. Number 24, the Washington Redskins. This just isn't a good logo. I mean, I like it, but it isn't a good logo. And, I mean, I'm not going to let you tell me that it's racist when there's teams called the Chiefs, the Blackhawks, and get ready for this one, the Indians. Get real, you immature pieces of crap. I mean, like, and they've had this name for over 80 years. I don't think they're going to change it. I kind of like their jerseys. I'm not even going to lie. I like their jerseys. They could cartoonify the logo a little bit, similarly to how the Indians did. The logo is too realistic to be a logo to me. It looks more like a silhouette on the cover of like a 90s movie about a Native American tribe or something. The team is inching closer and closer to relevance, and a logo change or a modification or even a change to the jersey or something could be the momentum booster that they need to get over the hump. They're also number one wideout away from a playoff year next year. The defense definitely underrated, but the logo needs a lot of help, I feel like. Number 23 is San Francisco 49ers. So, the Niners could use a better logo. Maybe in a turn for a new era? Question mark? Remember what the Seahawks did in 2013? A new design for the Niners? Maybe in the works? I mean, not this year at all. I'd expect some type of change in the logo and or the uniform over maybe the next 5 years. They have added an accent to the logo over the past 15 years, and about 15 years ago, this logo is in the top 20, I feel like. But I just feel like it's been passed by and has become sort of obsolete. This team is on an uprise, definitely. The logo would help with the marketing if they changed it. They just better not put all their eggs in one basket like a certain other NFL team that was supposed to be on the uprise. This aforementioned Ohio team's entire division responded in kind. If they fail and become the Browns of the West, enjoy your misery. If not, with Richard Sherman in a roundabout way, we might have a new Seahawks, guys. Number 22 is Cincinnati Bengals. I see this logo and I think it's okay. Don't really think either way of it. And I mean, but let's be real here. This team is, the logo's the least of their worries right now. Because right now there's talk of the freaking Browns taking over them. That says a lot. So something needs to change. Again, like comparing it to a record, this is the type of team I hear records like 7-9 or 5-11 when talking about, and I feel like a logo change may be able to put them over the hump. Similarly to how I think the Bears showed a team like the Bengals has a lot of options for logos, and I feel like that's just they haven't executed it right. I mean, it's alright. It's a stylized B, and I feel like the design helps rather than just a solid orange B, which would suck. But yeah, I definitely like this logo more than uh, a lot of others. But and then they always find a way to screw something up. If they miss the playoffs and fail to let us have the chance to be disappointed by them, you usually see one of those weird records like 7-8-1 with this logo. You know, I mean, it's okay. It's not unbearable, but it could definitely use a change. Number 21, the Houston Texans. So, let's be real here. The Texans took everything that the Cowboys could have had in a logo, executed on it, and beat their logo in 10 times. Now, the logo still is kind of meh. It's a little bit too directional for me. I feel like they could have made it a bit more free, I guess you could say, with the art style, but this was a successful attempt at representing the state of Texas. It's Texas flag in the shape of a buffalo head. It's got the Lone Star on the right side of the logo, if I'm correct. I feel like they did a much better job at representing Texas than the Cowboys did. But I mean, it could use a change. Not anytime soon. Maybe next 10, 15 years. And you can't really play the history game behind this because, I mean, come on now. The last time, like, the team first came into the league, the last time the Browns were in the playoffs, which was like a year before I was born. It hasn't been that terribly long they've been in the league. Green Bay Packers at number 20. Okay. The color scheme, man, I don't like it, but I don't hate it either. It's got a bit of a, it's got character, but it's also got a lack of character. It's tough to explain in that aspect of it. And, I mean, the G logo is iconic, and even the Georgia Tech Bulldogs have found a way to adopt it into their own color scheme, too, which is kind of cool for their sports clubs. But, I feel like the logo doesn't need to change. The helmet could, like, take on a better design, I feel like. Or at least not a better design per se, but a modification to the design, like make like the Saints helmet, how it's kind of sparkly. I feel like they could do that with theirs and work. But other than that, I mean, it's not a bad logo at all. It probably you can't really change it. It's a logo that falls into a category I would probably put a few other teams on here, and I call them untouchables, and I feel like this definitely fits that description. Number 19, the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers are better than they've been for a long time. Let's just say this is the best that the Chargers have looked going into a season in 15 years. It's great for them. They're on an unforeseen uprise. Nobody expected them to be going into next season on the high they're in, but and a lot of people don't agree with me either. But I really feel like this team could make noise in the AFC West next year. In fact, every year it seems there's one team that pops out of the water that nobody expects. I feel like this year it's the Chargers, and maybe a stretch, but I think this team could win the West next year. I really do. But the logo's strong. It's boring, but it's strong. It's energetic, and it literally electrifies me when I'm watching the Chargers because it's a very speedy team. You're usually talking about the Chargers. They've got a lot of speed to them, but at the same time, they're a strong team. and the logo represents their style of play very, very well. I mean, there's not much to say about a lot of these logos, from like numbers like 19 up to like 13, 12, that region. But yeah, that's why the Chargers fall here. It's not terrible. It's a great logo. There's just others that are better. I mean, this is a part of the list that fluctuates a lot. Their arch nemesis at number 18, the Oakland Raiders. Well, they're moving to Vegas, so basically meaning any seized momentum they had over the past couple of years is going to be sucked away via rape. They will be starting from scratch all over again, trying to rebuild confidence despite all of this, and a fan base, not to mention. I mean, the logo is alright in comparison. It's just a black shield, a pirate wearing an eye patch, and one of the, a leather helmet from that era of football from the Raiders. And it reads Raiders in big, bold silver letters on the top. I mean, this is going to be the first time the team ventures outside of California, so that's going to be interesting to see how football does in Vegas. But I feel like it'll do well there. And I mean, the logo is bland, but there's definitely a higher value to it than prettiness. There's definitely value to it than more so than a lot of other teams that at least a visual value. The and it says so much about the team. You can envision the bad and the good from the team just from the logo alone. From the 3 times they've raised Lombardi to the times they've had horrible seasons and relocation rumors spread like wildfire for like 3 years. But yeah, that's where the Raiders logo falls. Number 17, the New England Patriots. I hate this team. I do not like this team in the slightest bit. I do respect them though. And that's where a lot of people are wrong. They hate this team and they're like, Tom Brady's not the best. And, I mean, those are literally just haters. Where they're going wrong is no matter how badly you hate this team, you have to respect them. When you see a dynasty in any sport last for this long, you have to respect it. Like, and there's another misspelling. I've probably had a bunch of those throughout this. I mean, the logo, probably the least talked about thing with this team. I mean, because the thing is you see this logo and you think of great football. You don't see this logo ever and say, man, that's a good logo, or man, that logo sucks and it needs changed. You know, you don't really feel any different about it because the team as a whole is respected and it represents the team well. But I mean, I just feel like there are a lot of better logos right now. And yeah, I mean, I really feel that there's nothing special about it. But at the same time, there's something very special about it. And obviously, for any families out there with veterans, or anybody who knows about their past leading up to this and had any ancestors fight in the Revolutionary War way back when, I mean, I think it could, I feel like this is a respectful way to represent a team called the Patriots. It symbolizes a lot of strength to me, anyways. I mean, the gray they have, it goes with it, like, enough to where I can see it, and I would get a Patriots jersey. But I mean, I feel like they could just go with white, and I mean they do usually. But on the home jerseys, they have gray accents rather than white, which is, I mean, not a huge deal. But I feel like it could be better, it could be worse. I feel kind of indifferent about it. Um, the helmet's alright. It could use a change, or maybe at least a striping pattern on it. But I mean, all that said, the logo is good enough. It could go for another decade or so without needing a change that badly. And as I stated before, this area of logo ranking fluctuates pretty frequently. So I feel like they're uh, I mean, in a couple days from now, after making this, I could probably be like, oh yeah, the Patriots have the 12th best logo in the league or something like that. It really depends, which is why this area of logos I did in one sitting. That way, uh, I didn't start on it, say, the next day from like no, the number 14 spot and be like, oh, I need to move that, and then I have to move it the whole, like, change the whole way up, delete slides, all that. So, yeah, that's why I did this all in kind of a fast, time. But, yeah, that is going to be it for the first part of this. I did the first 16, and then the next episode I'm going to do the final 16. And also be on the lookout for a new one. My top 50 favorite games is my second video, or third video on this channel. And I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to tune in for part 2 of this. And I will see you all next time. Goodbye.